Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon all of you. I am here today with brother Gerardo, who converted to Islam a few months ago. Actually, Sheikh Albani is the one who gave his shahada to him. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Walaikum salam.
Today I wanted to talk to him a little bit because he called me a little bit earlier and he wanted to know, it's the holy month of Ramadan here is coming up Tuesday, and he wanted a little bit of information about that, and at the same time, he wanted to talk a little bit about what was the reason he converted it and so far how everything is going. So let's start with that 1st. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? I know you talked a little bit, when you talked to Sheikh Saeed originally, when you converted to Islam, but I want to talk a little bit more depth and detail. So can you tell me how it all started and what encouraged you to, and then obviously, and after now it's been a while, what you have been doing so far?
Yeah, and like Sheikh always says, I'll start off saying, all praise is due to God, all praise is due to Allah, creator of the world, everything. And to begin, it all started a few years ago at the beginning of high school. You start growing up and stuff, and I started going to church, Catholic church, because my whole family always has been Catholic or some sort of denomination of Christian. And I started going more regularly, and then my mom wanted me to have a faith that the family already had, but she never said, like, this is what you have to do. She said she just wanted me to have a faith of God, in God, so I can have that, like, to fall back on in life, because there's nothing without a creator. And so I started going to church regularly every Sunday,
And you from originally?
I'm here. I was born here.
Okay.
My parents are Colombian. They're all Hispanic, and they moved here in the early 2000s. I was born here.
Okay.
And I started going every Sunday, and I liked it. It was somewhat decent because I was very curious, like every Muslim should be. We always try to find more information. And even before I was Muslim, alhamdulillah, I was always trying to learn more information. And at first I wasn't too keen on like diving in deep into the religion. So I was just going to church and then living life normally, enjoying the worldly life of materialistic things, and perhaps I didn't realize it until afterwards, but I was a pretty different person. I didn't think much about anything beyond what I saw here in physical. I knew there was a creator that's out there I can't see, and I believed in him, but everything else, I would just get lost, like I would just not really think about it. And then she decided, because I never did a first communion, which is like a step in becoming fully a part of the Catholic Church, she wanted to put me in like a Sunday class. Every Sunday I go and learn, and then at the end of a certain time period, you're like inscribed fully into the church, and that's when you can take the bread and wine and things like that. And I was very happy to do it, simply because I was always jealous as a kid, because I never got to walk up with my parents and drink the wine and the bread. So I was always like, okay, I'm excited to start learning. And I started going, and I never like was super excited to go, but I did like going simply because I was learning. But then I got, they would give a paper, like a little pamphlet every Sunday, and I got those pamphlets, and I didn't really read it that much until the pastor at the church gave me a book, because he realized I was kind of in a limbo where I wasn't sure I was part of the Catholic community. I was there, I was reading and learning, but I wasn't really fully like devout, telling him like, yeah, I want to keep learning, I want to do this or become a part of the church or anything. So I took all those pamphlets, I had them like in a corner in my room, and then he gave me a book, and it was a book talking about cults and the occult and Christianity and world religions. So it was a kind of general book of religions, although it was slightly biased. I ended up learning afterwards, but I read about it, and I remember the very big switch when I realized, because around that time I started researching Islam, but I never thought about it as a serious thing. I thought about it simply because I was learning about Catholicism. So I was like, this is another major world religion, why not know something about it? So then after, I didn't think much about any other religion. I just thought, I'm Catholic, I'll just live my life as a Catholic. That's it. Until I read that book. That book, I read it, and I still have the book, and I read it just the other day.
And the pastor gave you this? Who gave you the book?
The pastor, the father of the church.
Right.
He's a very close guy to our family. I still care about him and stuff. But he gave me this book, and it talked about Mormonism and Jehovah Witnesses and all these different sects of Christianity, and then it touches upon world religions like Hinduism, Islam, and all these other religions. And it even gets into cult-like religions, you know, things that are not in any of this scope of world religion. And I read the whole book, and I remember so vividly, I read the part about Islam, and I was like, that's pretty interesting. Sounds like ours, except extra profit, and you know, they believe in one God. And I remember so vividly it said that Muslims, have a natural rivalry against Christians because Muslims believe that Christians are polytheists, although they're not. And I remember in my mind at then I was like, no, we're not. Why would? And then it explained because they think that Christians think is the Trinity, that is three different ones, and the Muslim perspective is that that is not Tawheed, that is not believing in one God and only oneness of God. And in my mind at the time was like, yes, we do. They're all in one. You know, all three of them are one. What are you talking about? The same thing that everyone tells me.
Exactly.
And that stuck in my head. And it was like I was explaining, it's like you have a structure, a foundation, and it was all on 1 little inch of like concrete or something, and then you just chip at it.
Yeah.
And it started coming down, and I started thinking, wait. This religion, billions of people think this about us. What is the context behind this? Is there some truth to this? Like, do they really think this? I used to think they're so mistaken. They don't know Christianity. So I researched it, and alhamdulillah, I started researching it. Because I could have just said, no, I didn't, live my life. But I started researching it. I got more curious every day, and more curious. And still I started researching, and then they explained it's not 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. It's 1 × 1 × 1. And then I would think, okay, whatever, that's somewhat their explanation. So I started researching it. And after, knowing that doesn't make sense, because at a point I realized this does not make sense. So I got more curious behind the faith of believing in Trinity. I wanted to know more the actual physical proof. Where is the scripture? Like, did Jesus actually say this? Any of this? And this is the part where it all fell apart. I researched the I tried to research as much the oldest scripture I could find. And then that's when I learned that the oldest scripture is a translation of the older scriptures that, Jesus spoke in Aramaic. And I always thought, they have that? It's all in Greek and Greek and another language. I forgot which one it was, but I remember thinking perhaps the translations are somewhat accurate. Maybe it's still true, but it's just a translation that they based it on. And then I researched something. I think it's called the Nicene. Yeah. The Council of Nicaea.
Council of Nicaea. Yeah.
Which happened around 300, 400 years after. I researched that, and that's what really drove it home, because I realized that council changed Christianity and the religion of Abraham 100%. And not even Christianity. It wasn't Christianity. It was the religion of God. It was the religion of Abraham. Because as Muslims believe, it's all progression from each prophet to each prophet.
Yeah, sure.
That religion that was originally from the prophet before Jesus got completely turned into what Christianity is now, which is a belief in Jesus as a savior, as he took all our sins away. And that was another thing, at first I was like, this is very merciful, thank God, he killed his son. Sounds horrible, but thank God he did it, because now we're all, we have a lot of mercy from him. And then you think about it and you're like,
this doesn't make no sense.
Wait a minute, he killed his son for us. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm not understanding it. So I kept researching, because I had doubts that I felt like I was doing something weird. I felt like I was just confusing myself. So, because my whole life I just thought this is my religion, this is the religion, the one that everyone else should follow. I used to think pretty ignorantly that everyone else was just wrong, and maybe I was blessed by God. because when I was really young, like I got in pretty bad accident and stuff, like, and my parents, they ended up in America, very slim chance, because my parents like lost a lot of family and the conflict at the time. So from a young time, I knew I was like pretty lucky, pretty blessed. I felt like God allowed me to like be here because there was many moments where I shouldn't have been. So I used to think, because of that, because I'm so blessed, I'm so lucky that I have that perfect religion. My relationship with God is perfectly fine because He obviously allowed me to live after all those things. So then I used to think it wasn't me. It was me. It wasn't the religion or nothing. But then I just kept researching it, and it kept falling down. Like all these things I believed before kept on folding. And I remember just like vividly learning how the origins of all these Christian things are either not Christian or literally pagan. Christmas, Easter, very recently that they passed. I remember Easter just 3 weeks ago. And like I've already been Muslim for almost a year now, alhamdulillah, but like just the other day I read up again because I didn't know the exact origin, and I learned origin of Easter, Christmas, all of them are pagan. And I don't, and yeah, like I feel like Christians are good people, but they're so lost, because they're good people in every world. So to me, it's more like, how could the people of 1,000 years ago let this happen? How did the Romans let their religion that was handed to them by God and through Jesus turn into this, which is, borderline paganism, believing in the Son of a God that God, the one and only, has a son? That's like Greek mythology, And I saw all of those things, and then I watched the debate videos between Islam and Christianity because that was kind of that's what I felt like was the only real competitor, I guess. I felt, okay, Islam makes sense. So I was like, Islam seems like the only actual world religion that's up there against Christianity. Of course, it's not like a war or competition, but it's the truth versus not the truth. And that's what I thought. I thought there's one God, there's one Jesus, there's one of each of these prophets, there's only one world, one religion, one God. Which one is the right one? That's where I started getting at after I felt my faith in Christianity crumble. I started thinking, okay, if it's not that one, because I don't think it would be that one, which one is it? So then that's when I started getting curious about other religions, which none of the other ones really had anything. Like, for example, outside of Abrahamic religions, I didn't step too far into them because I felt like Abrahamic religions were the only ones that stood up to the challenge, I guess, of being an actual religion handed from the actual deity that is God, the one and only. And so I started researching it, and I started researching Islam, and I remember I was like about 15, 16 at this time, which was a few years ago.
How old are you now?
18, thank God. So that was
he's 18 years old, and look at the way he's talking. I mean, he's probably so far one of the best one. Not that everybody else I haven't interviewed, they're all awesome, but listen to what's coming out of his mouth.
Yeah,
keep going.
I learned. No, don't worry. I learned so much because of this religion. I feel like I learned more about everything, not even just the religion. I learned more about the origins of where we are in this world and stuff. But back to what I was saying, like after I felt this like emptiness of not knowing which one I was, I researched Islam. And that's when I realized that I remember like reading parts of the Quran like online and stuff because I watched debate videos and they would quote the Quran and I would think, okay, like what is this holy book? And I remember thinking it was like every other holy book. They got the translations, the old ones, they had this group, they probably had their own version of the council and then changed it a little bit. And I was like, I felt like all religions were like that. I felt like they were all just old at this point. I felt that's another thing. That's one of the main reasons I was so lost. I felt like religions lost their legitimacy. I felt like all of them did. I used to think, man, it would have been cool if I lived back in these prophets' time so I can know the real truth and talk to them and be like, yo, what's going on? What is the real, what's going on here? And then I thought they all lost legitimacy. So I used to think, I'll find what's closest to the real one, what I thought was closest. So I started researching Islam, and I started learning the origins of of everything. You know, the Quran, who it came from, how it was revealed, and what spiked my interest at the beginning was learning that the angel Gabriel, the same one that told Mary that she was gonna have Jesus. And I remember thinking, this is all connected. It's not a separate timeline. It's not a whole different story. It's not, it's not like, no, none of that you learned is completely false. Majority of Christianity was false at the time. That what I learned, but the core of the Abrahamic faith, which is Abraham and the prophets and some of the stories of like David and Goliath, which are all in common, and a lot of different stories which are in common, were shared, and that's what spiked my interest a lot. It spiked my interest to the max. Like I would stay up and watch debate videos as much as possible, and almost constantly throughout the day I was watching videos because online there's a lot of good content.
Sure.
And I remember almost every day for like a good 6 months, almost a year, in my early high school, like when I was 17. This was 17 years old when I started becoming really interested in Islam. This was right before I converted. I started seeing videos, and what would happen is every day I would see, and I want to say, but like ignorant people saying so many misconceptions, so many things about Islam that are horrible, extremely negative, and like you said, people would accuse the Prophet, peace be upon him, of horrible things and of stories of the time. And I've even heard that Prophet Muhammad was inspired by Satan and things like that. And then every day I would have one misconception, and I would feel this gut feeling like, is this, maybe this is all false. Everything I'm learning is false. And I never wanted to be atheist. I always had faith in God. But I remember I would be like, no way, there's a crack. There's that one crack in Islam that's going to make it fall down. I would Google it, and from the best scholars, from research, from physical evidence, from 1400 years ago, not a council, not a group of people, not some random scholar who thought this is a good idea, this is what I think happened. The real evidence from that time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, came out and eliminated every misconception I ever had, alhamdulillah. Every single misconception I ever had, from the controversy that they have with the age of Aisha, the problem of the evidence that he had the revelation in the cave, and his companions, and problems, all these horrible misconceptions and ideas that were used against Islam all faded away quickly. I just Googled one thing, and it was all there, all explained in detail with sources, with multiple sources, not just one, because everything has one source. Even the Bible has sources, but multiple real sources that don't contradict either. Because something can have multiple sources, but then this one has multiple sources that contradict. Nothing contradicted, nothing at all. And I thought it was so beautiful. I was like, this is admirable. This is very cool stuff. I like the fact that Islam is so like real. Like they have
and
these
carbon copy of
carbon
it.
copy.
100%.
And I started admiring Islam. I wasn't like, maybe I am Muslim. I started admiring Islam 100%, thinking like, these people are so cool, And then I started thinking more like a Muslim without knowing it. I started thinking, how do they pray? What do they do? What is their day-to-day practice? And then I learned daily 5 prayers. I used to think, man, if I was Muslim, I probably would just pray 1 or 2. 5 is a lot. I used to think these types of things, like from that perspective. I used to think, that's a lot of stuff. Pig. And I don't like to say it, but I ate pig at the time. I didn't know any better, and I used to think, giving that up, man. I used to think if I was a Muslim, I would be an alright one, not like that. And I used to think all these things, and I used to admire them. And in where I'm from, Lakeland, it's very not even diverse. It's very solid.
Right,
you got white people, black people, and very few Hispanics. That's it.
We have a mosque in there now, though, don't forget.
Yeah, there's one. It's not as big, but I still, at that point, at least in my side of like that area I lived in, I never met a Muslim person. Never. Never, not a single time. Until around this same time, I met one of them. One of them, and I remember he gave me a book on how to like read Arabic, because I told him, I was like, "Oh, you speak Arabic?" And he was like, "Yeah." He lived in like, he was from Trinidad and he lived in Saudi Arabia for a little bit, and then he came here to get his high school diploma and stuff. And he was a cool guy. He never taught me much about Islam, but I remember thinking, this guy's Muslim. I wonder what really he does. What does he go home? And I remember I used to think, he's here at school. Does he pray at school? Does he pray at home? More curiosity. Every day I just got more curiosity, and I used to think, okay, they got 5 prayers. They fast Ramadan. I don't know how they do that. That's crazy. Although, alhamdulillah, we're about to be in Ramadan. Thank God, and I'm grateful that we are. But back then I used to think, man, how do they the whole month only at night? I'll take one sip of water too, but I don't understand these guys. But I still admired Islam 100%. And I would watch more videos, like old scholars debating, new scholars debating, these younger guys are doing a lot of debate stuff on YouTube and social media. And then I remember thinking so solidly for a while that I felt like Islam was the only thing that was truthful. But I remember it was like a limbo period where I didn't know if, like, is this the truth I should follow? Like, is this my religion?
A lot
like,
of
should
people
I,
are saying that exactly.
this is truthful, but like, do
Is
I
there
follow
of
it?
God is my God
Yeah,
also?
is the same as mine? Do I even deserve to be in this religion? Like, should I join these people? Will they accept me? Because I never changed my religion. I was always in one group, one church, one same people, and I was just so curious. I was in this state of kind of confusion, but at the same time, it was the most obvious confusion I ever had. It was the only way to explain it was really this. My experience and my mind was saying, should you join Islam? Like, what is that? But my heart and the logic and the only thing that made sense was take Shahada, be a Muslim. That was the only thing that made sense to me. But and I was just like, do I? I don't know. And I remember I would talk to someone, people very close to me, and I would tell them like, man, I don't know, like, do I change my religion? Like, can you even do that? And then of course I like searched it up, and of course it's just saying a sentence. It's just saying I declare there's one God and Prophet Muhammad is the final messenger. And
that's just the door. It opens up.
And you know what's so funny? I remember when I realized that I really should is when I saw that. When I saw that it was one sentence, and then from that day onwards was a journey of seeking knowledge, learning more, and living a Muslim life step by step. Yeah. That's you say one sentence, and it's not the next day you have to fast all Ramadan. You have to fast this day, day, pray 5 times a day. You made a mistake. You did this.
And it all falls into place.
And it all falls into place so naturally. And then I remember thinking, I should. I really should. And I thought that for like a solid, I'm not even going to say a week, few days. And I thought, I should convert to Islam. That would be cool. And I'll live my life as a follower of what I feel like is the only true religion. And for like the few days that I thought that, I couldn't think it and not do it. I couldn't think, I should be a Muslim and not take my Shahada and start now. I felt like I had to just like do everything. I felt like I had to learn. I had to keep learning. I want to learn the Quran. I want to learn about everything. I want to practice. I want to start practicing as soon as possible. Yeah. And I remember at home, I took my Shahada, and I felt like this sense of like being hidden though. I felt like I took it, but I didn't fully, like I wasn't able to fully enjoy being Muslim, like a revert to Islam and stuff. And at this point, I still never went to the mosque or anything. And I remember I had this feeling of not knowing what to do. So then that's when I started Googling, where do these guys go? I'm in Lakeland. I'm in the middle of Florida. Where do these guys go? Searched up mosque around me. I saw the one in Lakeland. I passed by, but they're only open for Fajr. And at that time, I would never think about getting up that early. But so I searched up nearest one, which is this one here at Slide. Alhamdulillah. And I just showed up a random day. It was like June 9th, I think it was. June 9th of last year, 2020. During summer, I just came. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna see what's up.
What these
I
people
saw
are all
it.
about.
What is it about? I came in and I didn't even step into this message, to the area we pray. I just went to the beginning and I was like, wow, this place is beautiful. You know, it's a cool establishment. I want to talk to like the head
The
leader,
guy.
the leader, a guy, someone. So I remember I walked in the office and I was like, can I speak to the sheikh? And I was so scared because I was like, do I call him sheikh? What is it? What is going on? I didn't even know if I could talk to a woman. I was so scared. Like I knew the basics and I felt like it was the truth, but I was still new. You know, I didn't know the day to day how to socialize with Muslim
Yeah,
people
of
or anything. This is the first time I ever saw a woman in the full abaya and everything. First time I saw a thobe, I was just like, oh God, what do I do? But I just asked the lady at the front, when can I speak to the sheikh, possibly like take my shahada? Because I felt like I wanted to take it, but then talk about it, learn
Exactly
more.
right, sure.
And then she was like, he's in a class right now, and I felt this guilt. I was like, no, he's in the class. I felt so bad. I didn't want to interrupt. And then I think she called him. I'm not sure. And I remember stepping door into the class, and there was a few brothers there, and the sheikh in the middle, and he had the whole thing, and I was just like,
I have that video.
yeah, and it's on video, and I remember thinking, man, I've seen these guys on the internet, I've seen these guys on social media, I've seen these guys in bad media too, you know, like horrible things that are portrayed, which is another reason why I researched it so in depth, because of those
Yeah,
misconceptions.
for sure.
So I was like, man, I seen so many guys with these things, but never in person. And then he was like, come on in. And I was like, are you busy? And he's like, no, sit down. And Sheikh Saeed, amazing. His personality in itself instantly was just like,
incredible.
you know, like, wow, this guy's really cool, you know?
You know he's not Arab, obviously, right? He's from Bosnia.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't even know.
He's not Arab.
Really?
No, he's European.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
He's from Europe.
Oh, wow, I never knew. I talked to
Macedonia,
him.
Bosnia.
Mhm. Yeah, that area. I talked to him a few times, but not too much in depth. And you know, he's usually busy with class and stuff. But one of these days, I wanted to meet up. But I remember so much. It was really welcoming. Everyone was just like, you know, like Assalamu alaikum, and I was just like, hi, nice to meet you. I didn't know what to say, and then I told the sheikh, I want to take my shahada and at least feel that I really am part of this community, and because it was a strange feeling at home. I couldn't really explain it. It was something like I'm not really there, you know. Like in my heart, I felt like I was Muslim, but I felt like I had to do something more here in person, like with a sheikh, or at least meet a brother that can say, you know, this is how this works. And then the Sheikh Saeed, before we even took the shahada, he gives me like a little questionnaire, and then that's when start recording, and then he's like, where did you come from? You know, where's your family? And I told the story, and everyone was just like, mashallah, we're so happy that you're here and you found the truth. And I remember so much Sheikh Saeed gave me the shahada. I said it. I felt, you know, I was overwhelmed with happiness, in the sense of like, finally, you know, it's like when you're on the long road trip and you're finally home and you lay down in bed. It was like that, literally like that, and I was so happy. I was like, I feel like I'm truly following the religion of God. I feel like this is really the religion that we're all supposed to follow, but everyone's lost, and I felt like I literally made it home. Like, there's no better way to explain it. As cliche as it sounds, that's how it felt. And I remember so much my friend Muhammad, one of the students, one of the brothers there, he was very happy, and he was telling me, I'm so happy, welcome. He took my number, and he was like, anything you need, we'll teach you, and all this and that. And the Sheikh Saeed gave me a big hug, and I told him, thank you so much. He gave me a few books. He showed me the book on how to pray. He gave me some other things, and he was gonna give me a Quran, but I don't think he had one right there. And then I told him I already had one because I bought one before I even converted to read it, parts of it. And it was a beautiful day. It was so sunny. It was something I never forget. I'll never forget. And like I told you, it's the best decision I ever made, because the Shahada is the beginning of a journey. It's not the end. It's not It's not saying, "Oh, finally, I made it. I'm done."
And not to cut you off,
No,
and
don't worry.
unfortunately, a lot of people they hold off, and they don't convert because of that reason. They simply think that as soon as they say that, now they cannot go and drink, now they cannot go and party, now they cannot
Yeah.
go and womanize and this and that and all that. That's
Like
part
it's a
of it.
restriction.
It's just,
You got banned from
but,
something.
exactly, and unfortunately, I know few personally that I could see that that's the kind of stuff that is holding him. But it's amazing. It really is an amazing story that you told me because in such a young age you
Yeah.
explain it in such a depth and detail to the
Yeah.
audience because a lot of those people that are watching that are not Muslim, they have those questions that you brought up.
Yeah.
And so this is your first Ramadan.
Oh, actually, funny story about that. Before I took my Shahada, it was Ramadan last year, and I remember this is the time I was researching it, and out of pure curiosity, I fasted the whole month. I fasted the whole month. I didn't pray though. I didn't because I didn't know anything.
Right.
I just knew it was a holy month and that they fast. So out of pure curiosity, just not jokingly, but I was just very curious. What is it like? So I fasted the whole month, and you know, I wasn't even Muslim. I didn't say my I didn't know. I didn't say my shahada at the time. I didn't pray. I didn't know a single word of Arabic, nothing. But I knew that the Prophet Muhammad was their holy prophet, that he was a great person. I knew his majority, the basis of his message. I didn't know in the in-depth of everything because I was still very new to researching it. I knew that there's only one God. There's no associate to him. There's only one and only can be one. There's nothing like him. There's no son. There's nothing. And he's not even our father. He's our creator. He's our owner. He created this as if it was nothing for him, and that changed my perspective of how I view God. And although I didn't do much besides fasting, I still felt that feeling of Ramadan where it's holy. You feel like you have to be better, And this is my first fully praying and everything and involved in the community. This is the first time I'm going to be doing a Ramadan like that. But last Ramadan is special to me because it made me feel a very similar feeling of this is holy. This is really what being a good follower of God is. Fasting, praying,
Charity.
researching, charity. I felt like this is truly what I felt like this is what the prophets did. I used to think to myself, every day I would go to church back then or live my life, and I was like, man, the prophets lived such different lives. They would devout every day, all day. During that month, even though I didn't even pray because I didn't know how, and I wasn't Muslim. Just fasting made me feel like such a good energy, such a good person. It was like, wow, I feel, similar to these guys. Wow, I feel like a whole, I felt like a priest, a sheikh or something. I didn't know which one to say at the time. I didn't know who, but I felt good. It was a good feeling. So I fasted that afterwards, and then just 2-3 months later is when I took my shahada, and that's when the journey began. Like I say, that's when it all starts, and that's when it all starts when you talk about learning and practicing and changing every single thing in your life, because some people look at it so with a taboo that you convert and man you have to cover your knees, your shoulder, you have to fast to pray 5 times a day. What if you miss one? You got to learn how to combine, separate. You're sick. What? You have to change all these things, and then a lot of people look at it you have to do all that. Oh, that sucks. But to me, it was like this. What can I change next? How can I be closer? How can I be truly like the Prophet without even knowing? Because I knew that Muslims followed, the Sunnah of the Prophet and God Himself, but I didn't know it was such to a T, like the Muslims do.
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, that's how it is,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful, and I wouldn't want it any other way. And I used to think, I'm gonna start praying. Okay, I gotta learn. And Islam he taught me the Fatiha a few weeks after I came here. the first time I came
He
into,
taught you?
yeah, he taught
Really?
me
He taught you the whole thing?
he taught me almost all except for the last.
You
last
remember
one.
it still?
Oh yeah, of course. I pray 5 times.
Can
a
you
day.
say it a little bit?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Unbelievable.
I love it.
He's already saying
Yeah,
it.
and I know like a few others, so I can complete the salah fully. You know. Yeah, of course, and it's the best feeling because especially Surah Al-Fatih has started so much in my journey to becoming Muslim because he taught me it in 2 hours, and like not even like 1 hour. I came here one day, I wasn't busy, I had no plans. My dad was not working, my mom was just at home, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the mosque. And my mom's like, oh, okay, and I came here. It was empty like this, empty, and I came in, and Islam was over there, right over there in the corner, reading, and I was just like, God, I do not know what to do. I don't know what to do. I had a little book that taught me how to pray, and I remember I told myself, I just want to practice and learn how to pray. And he came up to me. He was like, hey, you know, how are you? Are you convert? And I told him, you know, kind of, yeah, I'm convert. Don't know anything. I don't even know how to say Bismillah, nothing. And then he was like, no problem, no problem. He sat down right over there with that little book and a pen, and in 1 or 2 hours, I learned 99% of Al-Fatiha.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, it was already like 5 in the afternoon, and I felt like I had to get home because it's like 30 minutes from here. My parents, and I was still like 17 at the time. So I went back home, and I remember I was so happy saying the first few words with roughly, because I was still learning at the time, with the understanding of what I'm saying, because anyone can repeat any words. I can repeat whatever, you know. I can repeat songs, all these things that people repeat, but they don't know the meaning. They don't know what they're saying. And I remember driving home and having the best feeling knowing I can recite parts of the Quran, parts of this holy book that is sent directly from God and hasn't changed not one bit. And it was the most amazing feeling, and I remember so much. I would try to say it as much as possible. I remember I got up to right where it's right before it says Iyaka na'budu, and that line, like right before that, and I would just repeat that over and over, and I was so happy repeating it. And I remember I would get home, put on my headphones, and I would just listen to more and more. And a few days later, I memorized all of Surah Al-Fatiha, and I learned like each word and the origin. And I remember even recently, I did this a year ago, and just a few days ago, again, I watched the whole hour-long video of the tafsir, the story and the meaning and
Of
the
the
truth.
Al-Fatiha?
Yeah, of Al-Fatiha. I watched it a year ago, just as I did a few days ago, you know, because the meaning of that one chapter
It's unreal. It's the mother of all the
is
prayer.
the mother of all prayer.
The
Exactly.
mother of
That's
all the
why we
prayer.
say it
So
every
powerful.
single
Yeah.
rak'ah. We say the Fatiha, and it's so powerful. And I remember it was just the most amazing feeling to know that I was learning the words of God, the words and the chapters that the Prophet said, and the things. And I loved it so much. It's like an addiction, really. It really is. At least for my case, it was literally like an addiction, because I remember thinking, this verse is everything that I've ever wanted to say to God. I've always wanted to say, all praise is due to you. All praise is due to you, God. I never really knew how to express it or say it until I learned Al-Fatiha, when I said, only you we go to for prayer. Only you we ask for help. Please guide me on the straight path. Guide me on the path of those that are blessed, the prophets, those people that he single-handedly gave the blessing of being close to him. Like Abraham is the friend of God, the only prophet with the name, the friend of God. I want to be like that. I want to be your friend too, you know? Like, it sounds funny, but I used to think every word of this chapter is everything I've ever wanted to say. Guide me on the straight path, the good path. I don't want to be astray. I don't want to be on those that cause anger in you, God. I want to be, on a straight path. on the straight path. That's all. Sirat al-Mustaqim. That's all I ever wanted, to be on the straight path, and then saying the Al-Fatiha, and learning the other chapters, the few other chapters that I'm still, alhamdulillah, and inshallah I'll learn more. Every day I'm trying to learn more. But learning that one was such a important thing to me. It was one of the best feelings I could ever feel. And like I said, to this day and forever, converting to Islam is the best thing I ever did. The best thing I ever did. It changed everything. Naturally, just as I changed things on purpose, like there's a difference between
at such a young age.
Yeah, and sometimes I think about that and I'm like, I can't believe I've really changed this much in like 2 years. Because if you think about it, I went to church 2 years ago. I still went to church 2 years ago.
Were you thinking about like more materialistic type of stuff when you were, before Islam, and
Yeah,
more
I
about
was.
worldly life?
I was, in an American high school, it's so lost. It's so lost. Oh my God.
How your shoes is, what kind of phone you
God.
have, and clothing.
Man, it's not even, and the worst part is, these materialistic addictions that people have are bad in itself, but when you interfere with other people, it's even worse. Talking bad about someone talks bad about you, this pride. I'm ashamed to say that I used to go to school with pride, feeling like I wanted to feel like a cool guy, like the big guy, and then other people try to hinder that on you, as some people have sensitive egos, and they would try to poke at you, and then you try to puff up your chest the most. And all these horrible toxic things that I never realized were a bad thing. I thought that's just how it was to be a teenager in America. And then I converted to Islam, and I learned about the characteristics of a prophet, the characteristics of God himself, mercy, of being soft and kind, and how this is the path that God looks at in a positive way. This is the path that you should follow, every human should follow. And there was things that I had to physically try to change, like not eating pork. It wasn't that difficult. It really. I used to tell myself, like, man, I'll be a Muslim, but I'll just eat some pork once in a while. Man, when you learn the value of the words of Allah, and how amazing the Prophet is, and how valuable these books that we have around us of his Sunnah and everything, all these books, when you learn the value, it's not like, I'll give it up once in a while. I have to. I'm doing it. I gave it up. I gave it up 100%, one day to the other. It's not eating food can be addicting, but when you have such an amazing motivation, like being a follower of God, being a Muslim, you can throw anything away. I gave up pork one day to the other. I never tasted alcohol again or anything, although I was young. I didn't drink or anything. Like, you have to sip or whatever, but point is, I never thought about those things ever again. I threw it out of my life completely, and in fact, it became so ingrained that these things are prohibited. Haram. Not, start following it once you feel more comfortable. It's haram. When I would go to a restaurant and I'd see something with pork on the menu, I'd be like, whoa, I would feel weird. And it's not like, oh, dang it, I can't eat it. It's like, get that away from me. I don't want to even think about it. I ask my waitress every time, does this have any pork in it? Even though I should eat more halal meat, I'm still working on that, I stick to beef and chicken, and although it should be slaughtered correctly and things like that.
What does your parents think about it?
It's interesting. Alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful to God, because they could have kicked me out. They could have hurt me, put pork in my food on purpose. Like, I've heard many converts have to deal with that. They were really open to it. They're very like, okay, that's what you want to do, because I was already almost 18, so they weren't gonna, step in and say you can't do that. I'm 18 now, and they legally, just as morally, shouldn't have any like ifs, ands, or buts. Like, oh, you want to follow religion, And my mom was very susceptible to it, and actually, I like to say, is very close to being on Deen, in Islam, because she learned a lot through me. I gave her so much dawah.
That's how it works.
I gave her so much information, and she agrees with, I could say, almost all of it, except she has a hard time in her heart
letting
feeling,
right,
because I learned this at 17, 16. I have a very flexible mind. You have a mind like a sponge when you're young. She's like 45-ish. Doesn't even seem like it. She seems so young. I love my mother so much, and that's another thing. I learned to love her so much because of Islam. Before, I treated her good, but never like I would treat her now. Right now, I love my mother more than anything on this worldly life. Heaven is at her foot.
There you go.
Just like it,
Right.
those are the things that I learned, and I felt like I have to do these things. But like I was saying, she, her whole life, 40 years Christian. That's just what her way of life. She said she always had doubts and weird feelings, but in that culture, like, okay, you have a doubt, go to church. Who cares? Like, like your mom's like, no, don't think about those things. Go to church. Let's go to church. And then, so she never ever thought that was, like I said, she never, like I did at one point. We never thought, yeah, you could change your religion. There's multiple, and I told her, I believe this is the one and only truth, the infallible truth. There's no faults, there's no weakness, no contradictions. Obviously, me telling her this every day is not going to convert her.
No.
And like Sheikh Saeed told me on the day I took my shahada, my behavior is going to really help that.
100%.
And I changed my behavior 100%. I was a good kid before, but, and I don't like to like boast. I don't, that's another thing. I learned so much to be humble and not to boast with Islam, that I try to always seem equal to everyone else. Although in my heart, I know I'm blessed with Islam. I'm blessed, and when you have a blessing this big, there's no way you can hide it or just say,
You can't.
You can't. I have this blessing that is so powerful and amazing, alhamdulillah, that I naturally radiate this newer attitude and feeling with my siblings. I have a brother and a sister. They're very young, and I teach them about Islam, but I'm very careful because my parents don't want them to, because they want them to form their own opinion.
Right, exactly.
And I show them so much love. My parents, my mom, my dad, this new love that I had love for them, of course, they're my parents, but this love in connection with God, because the love that I got is directly from these books, not from kids usually, I see kids hugging their parents, maybe I'll hug them. This teaches you to treat them like no other human, because they gave life to you. Of course the Creator gave life. Nothing would be created without Allah, but they took care of you.
That's our manual.
Exactly,
That's
our manual, and I follow it. I try to follow as much as humanly possible, and it's changed my behavior with adults, teachers. Although I haven't even been in school for like 2 years, but with everyone in general, it's been a life-changing year / 2. No, it's been a life-changing year. I can definitely say that. And the beauty of it is that sometimes I look back and it's only been 1 year, and I still think to myself, how could I ever be what I was back then? Why was I not Muslim before? And it's a blessing that I tell people every day, my Muslim brothers, I tell them, be so grateful, because being lost is probably one of the easiest things you can do in this world.
Yeah.
I was lost for 17 years. I'm gonna say lost, but I was not in Islam for 17 years, and yet I look back, in only 1 year I've already learned that there's so many things that I did so wrong. And I thought I was living a normal life. I thought I lived the most normal, good life. I never got in trouble. I never did nothing crazy. I never hurt no one, fighting. Yet I look back and I still feel ashamed. I'm still like, how was I not better? How was I not acting like our manual instructs us to? Of course, I didn't know about Islam, but I just wish I did. And every day I'm so happy. I see the kids here. Every time I see kids here, it overfills me with joy, because these kids are born with Islam. They have the blessing that I had to, find. And I wouldn't want it any other way. I'm so grateful where I'm at right now, but it makes me so happy knowing that there's more kids every day that have this blessing. There's more children being born with this blessing of Islam. There's more converts every day. Just the other Jummah, a year ago I did between a year ago and today, I can bet there's thousands and thousands of new Muslims from all corners of the globe, and it's honestly the best thing ever. I can say it's the best thing ever. It's not. I used to look at religion like such a passive thing, like just I changed the other day, no big deal.
But don't you think it's really amazing once when you really want to find the truth and ask for the Creator, He literally guides you and sucks you and brings you to it.
That's a good point. Like, I researched a lot, like I said. I researched a lot, I read a lot, but there's no guidance like the one of God. There's not a single guidance that I've ever felt. I've had teachers tell me, you got to get your grades up. You got to do this. Even my own parents, sadly, they told me, you got to do this. You should try to be a better kid, and I'm blind to it. But the guidance that the Creator gives you is none like any other. It's something that you naturally, seriously, you can't give it up unless you are that ignorant or closed-hearted that you can't let anything in. Because people, like Allah says in the Quran, that people have their hearts shut. Their eyes and their ears are completely closed to these things. And when you open it just the littlest bit and His guidance, one spark in, you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. Like it happened to me, one small curiosity. Where does this religion from? What's the origin of Christianity? And I end up in Islam. It's one ounce of guidance from the Creator will lead you to the truth.
Yeah.
And with an open heart, it will lead you to the truth no matter what. And my parents always joke around too. And I haven't spoken to the father at the church in a while. In fact, in these last few days, just yesterday, I want to get a hold of him because I want to talk to him. But I always thought to myself,
does he know if you have converted or not?
My mom told him, and then he says, oh, okay, well, just as he did his research and he learned his things, I have my information, and in my head, I didn't want to laugh in a boastful way, but I kind of had to just, let out a chuckle, like, okay,
we've been there. We've been there. We have already read all that.
I've read a lot of it, alhamdulillah. And as I was saying, they joke around sometimes and say, we put our kid in Christian classes to be a better Christian, and he ended up Muslim. They say it all the time, and I just say every time, think about it. What did Jesus do? He fasted. He prayed on his forehead. He didn't eat pork. He
circumcised.
Everything. And that was a thing I forgot to mention. That was another thing that brought me to Islam fast, very, very fast, very quickly. When I realized that they follow Jesus, Christians are Christians because they follow Christ. They don't.
Well, the word Muslims is a person who submit their will to the will of God, which Jesus, Moses, Abraham, David, Solomon, Adam himself, they all
That's
submit their will.
Every single one of them did. That's what the original followers of the Abrahamic faith, the people who followed Moses at the time of Moses, the people who followed Jesus at the time of Jesus, all of them, when they had a divine revelation and a divine instruction from the one and only Creator, they followed it. And that's all we are. We're nothing, we, like Sheikh Saeed always says, we're not Mohammedans. We're not Quranians. We don't follow, we are followers of God. He says that a lot.
We're Muslims.
We're Muslims. That's it.
Yeah. We submit our will to the will of God, and that is it.
And it's honestly the best thing ever. The best thing ever. And I'm so grateful. Every day, my parents, they joke around a lot with him. They say, we guided you this way and you went the other way. But the other way is the only way.
Do you, I'm sure your parents will see all these changes.
Yeah.
But what did they say anything?
They say,
well, your mom said it's almost there, pretty much knocking on the door.
Yeah.
But what about your father?
My dad, he works out of the state a lot of times, but he's been home a lot lately, and I can gladly say in the last 6 months, from it's like exponential growth. It started like this, and I started learning and going up, and then it just goes straight up. I'm learning every day, exponential growth, every day learning about Islam. Tomorrow I'll probably be a better Muslim than today. I'll tell you that honestly. Like I'll go home and research more.
I can see it already, brother.
And thank you so much. I appreciate it. And my dad always, he's not the type to say like, "Oh, you changed," but my mom tells me like, cause my dad's a very reserved guy. He won't say like, "Good job, son," or nothing, but he'll feel it. He's just like he's a traditional Hispanic man. So my mom always tells me, "Yeah, I mean, we've realized you did this thing, and you're a lot more peaceful." And what my mom tells me a lot, and that she admires so much and loves about Muslims and my behavior, is that we do things. The majority of us Muslims, thank God, do things with such a devout, like, passion and love that it's unmatchable. It's unbeatable by any other thing in life. There's nothing. People are passionate about their jobs, but she says that she's never seen someone as passionate about something
religion,
as a Muslim in a religion in Islam. Because she said she watched me fast a month last year without praying, with little knowledge. I had one drop of knowledge compared to what I have now, alhamdulillah. And she said she never saw dedication like anyone else. And it's true. I would cook entire meals at like 3 in the afternoon, because sometimes at the time I would help her cook sometimes. And then I would be like, "What does it taste like?" And then she'll be like, "Wait, you're fasting?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I don't get you. I don't understand." She would say, "How do you have so much love and passion?" I'm like, "It's the truth. For me, it's the truth. So I have to do it, and I do it with love because that's what the Creator said." And she says all the time. She tells me all the time that that's what she admires the most, is the love and dedication I have for everything I do. When I pray, when I treat people right, because sometimes legitimately I'll get caught up in a moment of, let's say, a disagreement or whatever it is, and in my head it's like a shield. It sounds like a shield from all the bad thoughts and desires.
It really
And
is.
every time it hits the shield, and I think to myself, the Prophet wouldn't have done that. God didn't say do that. God said this is prohibited. Every time I think I'm going to raise my voice above 20 decibels, one thing, the moment I think I might close my door a little extra hard because I'm angry, I'm just like,
It's amazing. It's great, doing these interviews, because I do them quite a bit. Even someone who was born a Muslim, I mean, it's so incredible hearing these stories, because you guys are, I mean, literally humbling us, and
I appreciate it.
It's still it's a learning process. Even being born a Muslim, and seeing these great stories, and how much love it's coming from the converts. It not only makes my heart happy, but it humbles me personally on another level, and even makes me appreciate what we have.
Yeah. And even as a convert, that happens to me. Even though I've only had Islam, the blessing of Islam, for like about, I'll say 2 years that I've been truly like learning and doing things. And yet I see converts like Philip, a brother here who's been Muslim for 10 plus years, and I see him and I'm like, wow, mashallah, I want to be like that one day, inshallah.
I want to tell you something about Philip, actually. He's going to be in Al Fatiha channel throughout the month of Ramadan. I have asked him to once a week, talk about pretty much the same type of stuff that we talked about, or what he has learned, which is absolutely incredible to see him under Sheikh Saeed for 11 years, and the way he recited the Holy Quran. I mean, I couldn't even tell if he was a white American or Arab.
Yeah, it's true. When I heard him at the convert lunch for the first time I met him. We talked once in a while, and I admire him. I mean, that's what I aspire to be, and it's not, I don't aspire to be a good convert or a good American. I aspire to be a good Muslim. That's it. I just want to be a good Muslim, like he does, like you do, like the Sheikh does, as every other Muslim wants to be. We strive every day to be better, to do more, to worship God more, and especially, and there's nothing as good as the Deen of Islam, because we have Ramadan, we have Jummah. Every week we get this inspiration and this new chance to think we need to improve.
Recharge.
Every Jummah, you just like, we need a recharge. I tell my friends all the time, it's like a recharge. Yeah. I drive 30 minutes every Jummah, happier than every other day. you know, you'll tell me there's $1 million over there, and it's an hour away, and I'll still be like, hour drive. Meanwhile, 30 minutes to me is the best drive. It's the best drive I make every week. I don't care.
Charles drives almost 3 hours. You know, some people
Mm-hmm.
drives 2 hours, which is absolutely
Yeah, I admire those people. I admire that a lot. And 30 minutes is nothing compared to. This is another thing that, like you said, humbles me and makes me truly admire our religion. Story they said, one of the converts, people would literally walk across miles of desert for a hadith,
Yeah.
for a simple
Yeah.
information that was written down
Absolutely.
by the companions of the
Yeah.
Prophet, peace be upon him. And those are the things that I think about, and I'm like, man, I don't want to complain about anything.
Yeah.
And that's another
Yeah.
thing. It made me so. Islam has made me more grateful for things than anything else I ever have. Like, my parents told me about how I almost lost my life as a kid. It made me grateful for what I have, but nothing like the Quran, like this Deen. There's nothing that has made me more grateful, because I've seen so many like cases and videos where Muslim brothers die so early on, and it makes me realize that you can't pray later on. I'll pray later. You never know if you have
Yeah,
later,
you won't.
or I'll be good by next Ramadan, you know. And although I've only had a year, and I'm a child compared to most of you guys, and I'm still learning every day, and I want to learn more, but I still feel like this such deep sense of understanding of the beauty of Islam, that every day I feel like I'm like those people that realize, you know, we don't have tomorrow. I feel like those people that realize, you know, I've seen brothers that, on the internet, of course, I haven't met any of these people, but I've seen brothers online that they literally tell their friends, like, you know, we'll be back, and then they're like, wait, it's about to be Asr or whatever prayer at the time, and they're like, I'll pray when I come back. They never came back. They died on the car crash, you know. There's a famous sheikh from Sudan, Sheikh Noreen Mohammed.
Yeah.
Beautiful voice.
He
listened
passed
to
away
his-
just
in November.
Yeah, incredible voice. Incredible
I
voice.
I remember I saw a video. It said, "Rest in peace."
It was a car accident.
Sheikh Noreen Mohammed, and I heard him reciting the chapter. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Al-Akhaf, Ahqaf. I'm still learning every day, but that was probably one of the most deep feelings whenever I heard him reciting that chapter, because the chapter has so many beautiful words, and then thinking of the fact that this brother is in the grave, you know, that hit me like really hard, because like I've never met someone in the religion, obviously, that has passed away while I know them. I've only been in Islam for a year, and God forbid, I know a brother in Islam that passes away, but when I saw and heard him reciting the Quran and how beautifully he recited it, and then I watched the video of the news announcing, and then I see his body wrapped in white and being lowered, that hit me hard. I felt like I was there watching it, you know. And it was just a video, and it was in like January when I found out about him, and he passed away in the November right before, so 2 months right before. And that's when I really got hit so hard with this feeling, because I'll admit, from when I converted until January, I was not learning much. I was like, okay, yeah, you know, I'm Muslim, I'll learn and I'll watch videos, but I still wasn't praying Salah, I wasn't learning. Then January hit, I watched these videos about the Sheikh Noreen, how he passed away, and all these people saying you can't take anything for granted. You could lose everything right now.
Yeah.
When I realized that, literally, that was like the beginning of January. By the end of January, I was praying Salah 5 times a day, alhamdulillah, and I'm so grateful, because at first I used to think I'm just a convert, I'm still learning, but then I realized, man, yeah, I'm just a convert, but what does it take to spend a few hours a day learning these things? I don't have physical school. I'm at home most of the time. What does it take? I learned more Quran. I learned how to pray my Salah. I learned how to do it as the Prophet did it, because, you know, there's no better example to follow than the physical example we have, which is the Prophet Muhammad. Almost every action he ever did was written down, and it takes nothing to follow what he did. It just takes dedication. like a little bit of dedication and love for Allah and the Prophet, and you'll be able to follow what he did. And by the end of that month, I was praying 5 times a day. I learned how to say things in Arabic, and I learned the meaning of them. Thank God. And every salah, I strive harder to have the time and the patience to truly be in the salah, because a lot of brothers, and everyone is guilty of it. But sometimes, I sit back and I'm like, this could be my last. This could be my last. Like,
it's not quantity in Islam; it's quality, brother.
Exactly.
Quality.
The brother,
Allah wants your heart.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want you to go up and down.
And
He
the
don't care about
intention,
that.
And that's another thing that's beautiful. And in the Catholic Church, I remember I told a story on the video of me converting. This is something that changed a lot in my mentality. The Catholic Church, my sister had to get godparents, and they were so specific without a single, like, they didn't pay attention to intention, like what the intent was in the action. They just cared, were her godparents married through the church, were they divorced? If they were divorced, they can't be her godparents. All these criteria just for my sister to be part of the church. And I love my sister so much. She has a good relationship with God, and she's very young. She's only like 12 years old. And in my head, I was like, why does she have to wait for the church to do a selection of who is good godparents, who's going to be good? Did they get divorced? What if they are the best, most religious cat? Because a godparent is someone that's supposed to guide a child in their religious life. And meanwhile, for example, we tried to select a close family friends of ours who are extremely good. They're really good people. They're really good guiding. But because the woman had a divorce in the Catholic Church, she couldn't be part of it. And you know what's funny? My godparents, from before, I obviously don't claim that anymore. It's the past. But my godparents, when I was young, and I don't like to speak bad about people, but these people practice black magic. Legitimately black magic, the occult. They did sihr, I think it's called, these horrible things against God. But because they were married in the church and not divorced, they're my godparents. They're supposed to guide me in the Catholic life. But these people practice black magic legitimately. They had one small issue of jealousy and pride that they had with my parents. Meanwhile, my parents were like innocent. They were just focused on, starting their life. This was early 2000s. They first came here, and these people had a problem with them. Next thing you know, they're trying to cast spells on my mom. It sounds like Harry Potter, man, but it's so real. My mom found weird things in our yard and things buried and all these horrible things. Yet in their eyes, that they're the right godparents. Meanwhile, for Allah, and I don't. If I have a broken back, I don't have to get down like this. I could just lay in bed and pray.
Yeah,
if I can't speak, I think about it in my mind. If I can't open my eyes, I keep them closed.
Yeah.
If I'm sick, I don't have to fast. No. There's so much mercy in God and so much priority in the intention.
Well, you open the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. We can't even do anything without saying that first.
Exactly.
If it's on the beginning of prayer or if we do anything, everything.
And setting your intention. I remember so vividly when I first read, set your intention before you start Salah. I was like, what is that? I was like, what do you mean set your intention? I'm going to pray. And then I thought about it so in depth, and I started thinking, like, seriously, you have to set your intention when you do things, because what does it take to just go like this and pray? And
exactly.
You don't know what you're doing if you come in from outside the masjid. Let's say me and my brother are playing basketball, and we're playing basketball over there, and I'm like, God, man, I just lost the whole game. Whatever.
Your head is there.
Like, man, I'm playing basketball. Oh man, that sucked. That was such a horrible game. Dang, that sucked. You gotta clear your mind. Very smart, brother. You gotta clear your mind. You have to think of your intention. And everyone falls guilty of this sometimes, including myself. Man.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
like sometimes your mind is somewhere else. Setting your intention is as simple as thinking, I have to pray. I'm gonna pray. Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, whatever it is, Isha, optional prayers. I'm gonna do it for the sake of Allah, no one else. I'm gonna keep my mind straight. And yet there's mercy. There's so much mercy because even if sometimes you maybe get distracted for 1 second or 1 second, if you're like, I'm sorry, if you in your heart you feel that it was a mistake and you feel repentance in your heart, that's enough for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the beauty about the mercy of Islam. And
just going to clean yourself before you come down here. Your urination, defecation, people go down there and then they just go and pray. How does that work? You have
to be clean. That's another thing. Surprisingly, besides all the spirituality, the physical practicality of Islam is so beautiful. This is one of the things that I say so lightheartedly because it's so, this doesn't have to. Well, of course, it has to do with intention and stuff. But literally cleaning your hands and feet. Think about it. You do it 5 times a day, you're a clean person.
And your nose, putting water in it. All that is good for your allergies, for your
sinus, everything. And think about. And I remember my little brother told me this just literally yesterday. He was like, I think it's cool how Muslims have to use water when they use the restroom and they clean their hands. And I was like, yeah. And then he said, it's so true because when I get something nasty, a bacteria on my arm, I don't just wipe it with paper. I don't just wipe it off with my hand. You clean it with your water. It's the only way to make sense.
And even the way you use the water a little bit, you don't waste it. That whole entire process.
Exactly. And in my head, I was like, besides the absolute perfection, which is the faith and the belief in Tawheed and the prophets and the things beyond our vision, because in the Quran it has little logos that say this chapter talks about beyond vision, practicality, and then the Sharia and stuff like that. The practical, physical things in themselves are so insanely perfect that it's you simply think to yourself, Allahu Akbar. He's the most superior. He knows everything. He knows why. He knows why he makes us clean because it makes us water cleans us. It helps our allergies. It helps all that. Praying. Funny story. To this day, I'm really not an active person. Unlike you, man. I saw your Facebook. This man's strong. This man's beast. But
I saw like that all my life, 40 years.
Yeah, I'm not as active as my brother. And I remember the first time I made sujood and I sat on my legs. I felt like I was breaking my legs, man. I was like, how did they do this 5 times a day? And I remember stretching down like this. I felt my ACL, my hamstring, everything was stretching, and I was like, I don't know. I'll just learn it. I think I might have to learn Salah another day or something because this hurts. I remember the first time I did a full 4 rak'ah. The next day I was sore. Not even joking. I was sore.
Because of all the stretching that you see. People don't, because I've been involved in fitness all my life. So think about it. When you get up in the morning, okay, you've been sleeping for that 7-8 hours, everything's stiff. When you prostrate, the hamstring, the glutes,
everything.
Your lower back, the erector spinae muscle, all that stuff is being stretched. And then even when you're doing to bowing down, that puts pressure on your shoulders, on your chest, on your back, so on your triceps. So because I analyze it, if you really look at it from A to Z, it's not only worshiping, but it's an incredible exercise. Now you
for
do
your
that
health.
For your health, you do that 5 times a day, getting up and down. That's all squats that put pressures, on your quads, on your hamstrings. It just constantly puts stress on the muscles,
In the best way possible. And that's one thing that I realized. That like one of those, it's like I say, like a side effect. I'm here to make my salah and all this, but then after my salah, I'm like, dang, like my legs, they stretched better this time. I remember the first few times. I remember my leg when it came closed, because it was so tight, I couldn't close it all the way. So when I was on my knee, I was like up, and I felt so awkward and uncomfortable. It was the weirdest feeling ever. After literally just a few days of trying, I felt like this flexibility and this like ease that was something I never had before. And I've been to the gym a few times. I've done exercise, but the ease which I have with my legs is something I never had before. Because I live a pretty sedentary life, sadly, which I might change with the new gym opening up. Yeah. And I felt like legitimately, my heart, my mind, and physically, I was doing exercise. That's all it is. Like you're worshiping, you're clearing your mind, you're thinking about God, you're thinking about His message. And a side effect, like I said, you got healthy legs, your tendons are being moved. You know, I always had leg pain, this pain, and then slowly that stuff went away when I started praying. And I remember before, when you're reciting the Tashahhud, you're supposed to put your foot like this.
Right, yeah.
At the same time, I used to think that was impossible. It was painful.
I still can't do it. But,
Really?
No, because I mean, I kind of started a little bit later on also, you know, and so when you do that as a child, as a kid, everything kind of, how would I say it?
It forms
adapts.
easier.
Yeah, it forms
Oh,
easier,
yeah,
you know?
that's true.
So when you do it later on in life, you know, and especially when you start doing it in your 20s and your 30s, it's harder.
The bones and everything.
So
Yeah.
I went through that process myself. And also wanted to say that Brother Charles, our Sharif who converted, he had knee problems. So one of the first thing he told us, he's like, you know, can I just do it, you know, while I'm sitting in the chair? Because he actually prayed and he said within 5 days, the knee problem went away.
Exactly. It's astonishing how naturally beneficial everything is.
Yeah.
From health benefits, mental benefits, spiritually you're found and you're sound and comfortable in this deen. Mentally you're clearing your mind, you're getting rid of anxieties, you're getting up. When you have depression, you don't want to shower, you don't want to stand up, you don't want to do anything. You have to go clean, ghusl if you need to, you have to bend over, physical activity. These things are cures to anxiety and depression, mental problems. They're things that help you get rid of, you know, people find refuge in their own desires when it comes to these things. When they have depression, they find a physical thing that will relieve, although nothing physically or emotionally relieves them truly without a negative side effect. Drugs. They think that they're perfectly fine. They think, man, that's my medicine. Thank God. Thank God it's just a plant. I can, you know, or whatever it is. Meanwhile, they don't see all these other negative effects that are making them, you know, their minds are numb. I've seen so many kids at my school and youth that legitimately destroy their brains with the use of these things, all because they have some anxiety and because it gets rid of their anxiety. There's nothing like coming here. Listen, silence. This is the most peaceful place you could find in 10 miles, I promise you. And it's the most beautiful thing. And you hear the adhan, you hear the Sheikh Arjan's beautiful voice, man. And it's a sense of peace and relief that you can't find anywhere.
Just the month of Ramadan itself is very healthy for you, you know, when you're not eating like that. So can you imagine for a whole entire year, you're eating, you're putting all that stress on your digestive system.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I mean, if you talk to doctors, they tell you one of the
intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting is one of the best things you can do. So, now when you're fasting for that 16 hours, you know, because a lot of even disease and stuff like that starts from the guts, you know, and when you don't feed it like that for that long period of time, it will cleanse it and that puts less stress on it. So do you have any question? Because what we in the month of Ramadan, obviously you're gonna come for the Taraweeh Prayer, right?
Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah. So usually the way it starts is, you know, the fasting, you know, obviously starts for Fajr when the call for prayer starts. After that you can't obviously eat. You can eat throughout the night, everything, but fasting is not about don't eat all day long and then you just completely overeat.
Yeah, stuff face.
That's just contradict. I mean, the whole entire fasting, you know, itself, because a poor person, you know, we do that so that way we see how a poor person feels like, so that way we can, you know, it gets you to that level of say, hey, you know, this person doesn't have anything, I want to help him, and so on and so forth, you know. So, but if a poor person doesn't have the luxury of eating huge meal after a whole entire day of fast, you know what I'm saying? So the fasting is basically, it's to feel how a poor person feels, and then you usually, when you break your fast, people usually break it with some fruits, you know, and then you can have a little bit meal later on, and then maybe, you know, after the Taraweeh prayer, then when you go home, you can have just a little bit more smaller meals. That's how. But then unfortunately, even our Muslim brothers, you see them once when that started, they start eating all that bread, and then they start eating all the
They eat
rice
all the
and
meals they
everything.
missed.
Well, not only that, the worst thing that because it can also help your, if you want to lose any of that stuff, lose weight or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? So that whole entire thing, if you do it correctly and properly, the way the Prophet did, peace be upon him, because I mean, he was completely
Slim,
slim,
being healthy
and it'll help you as a whole, So that's one big part of it. But usually the Taraweeh prayer starts obviously after Isha prayer. We do the Maghrib, and then they eat, and then they come back here, and then they do the Isha, and then that's when the Taraweeh starts. It's usually if it's for about 2.5 hours every night. It starts about around 9:30. After whatever Isha is, and then it goes to about 11:30. And obviously they usually finish it like a couple days before Ramadan ends, a day or two, or maybe even 3 days. Some days even almost for 5 days before. But obviously it goes for 2 to 2.5 hours every night until we finish the Holy Quran from cover to cover.
Well,
So Taraweeh basically what it is to finish the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran came in the month of Ramadan. Okay, so the whole entire month of Ramadan, we started from A and completely finish it to Z, all of it. So that 30 days, and sometimes depending on how much they read at nighttime, if they read 2 hours, sometimes they might go 2.5 hours, or whatever the case is. That's what I was trying to say, that it might not last the whole entire 30 days. It might be 28 days or 27 days until you finish the whole Quranic Kareem. But that doesn't mean, so it's all about worshiping. So that's what you do at nighttime, and usually at daytime you either read the Holy Quran, you listen to it throughout the whole entire day. A day and night. That's what basically.
It's a month of worship.
A month
very
of
holy
worship.
month where you worship.
And if you can give, a little bit of charity, or enough to even some of the countries that really needs food, so that way they can sacrifice. Obviously an animal. It's usually a goat, a sheep, or a cow. So that way they can give the meat to poor and needy. That'll be a great way. That's the way that process works. Do you have any question about the month of Ramadan?
I mean, I know generally like pretty much everything. I'm very excited. I know that I'm extremely excited. The only real question is like, I'm just wondering when the fasting starts, the day, like, I'm not sure, because you know how like it changes.
Right. The moon,
that's the only thing. That's the only thing I'm confused about.
So basically, yeah, exactly. It's on the cycle of the moon when you see it. As far as we know right now, it's Tuesday. But I will find out more information about that hopefully by tomorrow. So it's still, they're looking at it, but based on calendar and based on everything that I see, it says it's going to be on Tuesday. But that could change. So a little bit later on today, once when I talk to Sheikh Saeed and Abu Said, see where everything is, then I'll find out and I'll post it, different platform. But I believe they're gonna start feeding people starting Tuesday. I'm gonna find that out also as far as the masjid itself goes.
Okay, all right, because alhamdulillah, I know the basics of the fasting and the mentality you should have, because mentality is very important. Because what I love so much about Ramadan is that it's a time to break old bad habits, and when you're fasting, it's a lot easier. You can get rid of these habits you had before that weren't really beneficial, and maybe more of a waste of time, because time is wasted every day. Every day people waste so many times, especially in this society, in this country, and even in this place. People do so many things that aren't really beneficial in any way, and I'm just excited for that chance to break bad habits and to have this mentality of growth, because it's not just fasting and that's it. I'm gonna keep eating. I'm gonna stop fasting at the end, inshallah, and we're gonna pray our Tarawih and celebrate Eid, and it's gonna be amazing. But what habits am I gonna keep from this month and keep going after until next Ramadan, inshallah? and what am I gonna stop doing? You know,
You're
that's
very
what I'm
smart,
excited
brother.
for.
You're very, very
Thank you, I
sharp. You're
appreciate
very
it.
smart. You caught all the most important part of Islam. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
So everything that came out of your mouth, those are that truly matters
Yeah.
in our religion. You
Yeah,
follow
I
and saying. So this is telling me that you have done your investigation.
Yeah,
You know,
I try learning,
which
as
is
much.
incredible. In time, do you, if you want to learn the Quran, obviously Sheikh Saeed is teaching the classes now. It's on Saturdays at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I wanted to come yesterday, but I had a family member.
No problem. You can come
in.
next time if you
Yeah,
want. So
next
that's gonna
time,
be.
inshallah. I'll
It's
come.
still start. It's pretty new. You know, the
Yeah.
classes are it just because Jalil, who's also a convert, he came last weekend, the Saturday, and this will be a good time because, like I said, it's the beginning of the classes.
Oh yeah,
You know,
best time.
so that
yeah.
way, that's
so I
the
can
best
start
time.
from the beginning.
From the
Perfect.
beginning.
Inshallah, I'll come next week. Because I have family member come
Yeah, no,
in and
sure,
stuff, you
sure.
know, things like that. And I was busy yesterday, but you know, inshallah, I'm trying to keep Ramadan as empty when it comes to making plans and stuff like that, because it's one of those times that you can't lose. You can't let it slip out of your hands without taking advantage of it, because you know God made it so perfectly, so full of mercy that it's really a second chance for
Yeah.
Muslims.
Yeah.
It's an amazing chance to get back to the deen, get back to doing what you're supposed to, and keeping the habits. Because I recently heard about like a stereotype of Ramadan Muslims, where the whole month they're good, they're fine, they do great, but then they literally the day of Eid, right after, it's like they forgot.
Or
You know?
some of them don't even come to the masjid until
Yeah,
that month,
some-
and the rest
yeah.
of the year it's
And-
not.
and-
It
and
doesn't work
To me,
like that.
that's my biggest fear, because that's something that can happen to anyone. If you let you know the shaitan or the word, the desires
Yeah,
of this
yeah,
world
yeah.
get to you, you can get lost so
Yeah,
quick.
definitely.
And that's something I think about a lot, and I
You're
pray.
solid, brother.
Thank
Wallahi,
you. I
man,
pray every day. He keeps me strong,
You
because
you are. I'm very impressed.
yeah,
to be honest with you.
learned so much, and I've seen like so many brothers get lost. You know, like people that leave Islam and things like that. But alhamdulillah, if you look, more people come.
Oh,
every day.
they're
Way more
coming.
people
Yeah,
come.
they're
It's
coming.
something we were talking about. David Wood
Yeah.
is so against it.
Yeah.
One of his co-hosts converted to
You're
Islam.
kidding me?
You didn't know?
No way.
Okay.
That's something.
That's
I
an
do
amazing
wanna know.
story, man.
Because
It's
that
a
guy,
whole
David
story.
Wood, man.
David Wood,
he's,
you know,
may Allah guide him in the right
I hope
direction.
Allah guides
you
him.
know.
Yeah, it's funny. There's
No
a few things,
way.
because I watch all those channels. all
Send that
those
to me.
YouTube-
I did too for available, but
He-
please send that to
He
me.
was a co-host on his show for 10 years.
What was his
10
name?
years.
Was this? Subhanallah.
I forgot the brother's name. He's
Wow.
an African American brother. He was Muslim when he was young. Left, became Christian. Befriended David Wood. Started this hate show.
Yeah,
I call it that, but
That's what it
they
is.
think, you know, they try to preach their word,
Yeah.
but they do it in a very harsh,
Sure.
hateful way. If it was with love, anyone would listen. Although we wouldn't go, because we know what we have here is right. But the point is, 10 years he was on the show preaching these things with David Wood, and very recently he came back, and now he's a Muslim. David Wood swears, just as we tell people we have the truth, he thinks he has his. And yet, the brother that was with him, by his side, preaching the same things, where's he at now? In a masjid with the Quran, following the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Let's hope David Wood himself, convert. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and he had a GoFundMe for one of his daughter's thing. Muslims offered to pay it all off.
Subhan. No way.
His daughter had like a health issue, because he has 3 children with disabilities, I think. And I mean, I pray Allah guide them all and help them, because
Did he took the
what
money?
we are. I don't know. I haven't checked up on it. This is very recent. This was a few weeks ago. I saw it. A few brothers on YouTube who give dawah in UK
Of course. They're very good. Yeah, they're very good.
And they offer to pay it all off.
Wow.
For the mercy of Allah. And I'm not sure if he's taking it. I haven't checked. I should. We should. I'll search it up right after this.
Brother for Uthman from San Diego is very, very good too.
Amazing. I watch his videos.
He's amazing.
I watch his videos.
He's one of my favorites now.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites recently too. I've been watching him.
He takes it to another level. I mean, he breaks it down in a complete.
You seen his Bible? It has all the papers. And
every single one of the pages.
It's so funny. It's so funny because he'll be talking and then he's like, "You want to see the Bible?" And then he'll bring it out, and then he's like, "I have it right here." And then the people
which version?
Look at him. And then they're like, "Which version do you read?" And they're like, "New whatever this one." And then he's like, "Okay, I got it right here." Another one right there, full of these things. Muslim, we study everything.
We just don't take it foolishly just simply because somebody said that's the way it is.
Exactly. If you think about it, I mean, like these people think we're so lost, but we look at these books, man. Like look at all these books in the middle of Florida,
the time of the Prophet, carbon copied.
Islam was just showing me a book over there. 700 years ago it was written. 800 years ago. 1400 years ago. The hadith are words written down by people who met the Prophet, peace be upon him. And we read them every day. Alhamdulillah, we read them and they're preserved, most of them, because some hadith, can be
of course. Weak, exactly.
There's weak hadith and things. But the beauty of it is, Islam simply itself, with the solid hadiths, the Quran, and the example that the Sunnah that Muhammad left, peace be upon him, is so strong. It's so strong. Even with those few weak hadith, it's the strongest, most backed up, beautiful, and correct and legit and logical religion.
Well, that's how we know about the prophets, how they came, exactly what happened, how it all went down. If you're looking at it systematically, it all fits in together between the hadith and the Quran itself.
It all fits in like the most perfect puzzle. Legitimately, it's like that, and it's one of those things that there's no faults. There's no, okay, we don't know about this, we don't know about that,
but we'll just take it because somebody said.
There's none of that. And that's what I love and admire. I learned through Islam that pride and things like that are not good, but it really does make me so proud to be Muslim. It's something that I the first chance I get, someone mentions it, I'll tell them proudly, because I don't wear thobe or kufiya that much because my parents are sort of, and those things aren't even really related to Islam. It's more of a cultural thing. But every chance I get, I tell people, and I have had Christian women tell me like, oh, okay, just, read the Bible and pray that he'll guide you. And I'm like, look,
I've been there,
and I'll tell them I would love to read it, but I'll give it back like Sheikh Uthman's Bible with this contradiction, this fault. Where did this come from? What is this? Where's the source of this?
The stories are completely different. It tells you in one page the age, the story, and then on the other page the same story is completely different story.
And the thing is, sometimes people think that you have to be a whole scholar to understand those contradictions. Literally in the Bible it says that this one king was 8 years old, and then in the other one, a few chapters down, it says 18 years old.
Exactly.
Right there, numbers. My sister, my brother, a little kid can read that number and know, hey, he's not both. Anyone could read those things.
Well, I want to thank you. We're gonna do some more interviews with you, obviously.
Of course.
I don't know what to say. I'm speechless. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be watching this, and I that's why I do these things, because I don't want to sugarcoat it. I just wanted to come directly from the mouth of the converts themselves, what they have been through it, step by step. And I don't think so far anybody explained it as beautiful as you did.
Thank you.
I have a few more coming that I'm getting ready to interview. They've been a convert for a long time, but I just wanted to say that it was a mind-blowingly explanation that you just give us from A to Z, how it all happened, how it went down. And I always say, if your heart is clean, if you truly want to know who your creator is, and if you ask for it, the Creator will bring you, and that that has happened to many. Cat Stevens, I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah, I heard of him. I'm
His
not sure.
situation, well, he was big as Beatles in his prime. In his peak of his time, he had a place in Malibu. He was going surfing or swimming, and a big. Basically, the water starts sucking him in.
Yeah, like a riptide.
Riptide, exactly. And he said the next thing he knows, he was just under the ocean, under the water, and he knew that he was gonna die. He said he literally knew it. He said it was very, very strong, the current. And then he said that he said to himself, God, whoever you are, wherever you are, if you get me out of this one, I will find you. And I will worship you.
I never.
So, yeah. So I'll send you that. So the video. So that's what exactly he said. He said, wherever you are, whatever you are, I'm gonna find you. And ultimately, Assalamu alaikum, brother. Ultimately, basically, he said the next thing I know, the ocean just spit him right back out.
Yeah.
He said to spit him out, and he was thinking to himself, well, the God did his part. Now I gotta find him. And then obviously he knew about Christianity, and then he went to Buddhism, and just about everything else. His brother handed him the Quran, and he said, why don't you, investigate this, and then the rest of it was, and not only that, he left, in the peak of his career, he left, the music industry, all of that, for sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what exactly the same time, the same thing that you're telling me that.
And like Sinead O'Connor, another famous American singer.
Sinead O'Connor is a Muslim now too?
Yeah.
No way.
She might have had her, her little issues in the early 2000s and wilded out on
I didn't know
media, but she's
wow. I need to do some research on
she
that
did
too.
Although I'm sure she's working on it. She did a performance on like SNL, I think, and sang her song in a hijab and everything.
Send me that link if you can.
I'll find it. Don't worry. And Kyrie Irving, very recently, someone wished him a happy Ramadan. I'm guessing Muslim fans, and he said, I think he said like, "Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you so much. I'm excited for Ramadan. Allah knows best. All these things." And it was kind of out of nowhere. No one expected Kyrie Irving, famous basketball player. So many of these famous people are converting.
That guy David Kim from YouTube.
Yes.
His
I'm
wife.
telling you, it's everyone.
You can't hide something that powerful.
Exactly.
You never can. Everybody wants to know the truth. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen to them when they die. Exactly why they're here. What's their purpose?
Yeah.
And even the atheists that they just simply tell you that there's no. I promise you that they think in their heart also that there's got to be, why are we here? What's the purpose?
Oh, it is. And you know what's funny? In actual research, I saw a whole paper on it. Almost a majority of atheists believe in some sort of supernatural. How are you going to believe in a supernatural?
You call it supernatural, whatever you call it. We call it Allah, the power of
it's the unseen.
Seen, exactly.
It's the book of the unseen, exactly. Of those who believe in the unseen.
Well, it says that He created jinn, and
the jinn kind. There's a whole world, and the beauty of it is that science proves it even more. Yeah. Think about it. I saw this comparison real quick. I keep on going on. I could go on all day. I'm telling you. We see things in 3D and 2D. This is a 2D. Let's say this is a 2D object. He can see you, right? And you can see him when he's like this. Obviously, if it was fully flat, not my hand. If it was a fully flat thing, you can't see it. It's the same thing with 3D, 4D, 5D. There's so much of the unseen that there's birds with better eyes than us who can see things we can't see.
Exactly.
Imagine the world beyond this world. Imagine the universes and the 4D and 5D, like we said.
Let's say the Creator would have given us that kind of power to be able to see everything or hear it. Can you imagine that kind of? It would have been crazy.
It's overwhelming for us already.
Of course,
it's overwhelming. You go to the middle of New York, someone from a countryside, they'll freak out. They'll have breakdowns. They'll cry. Anxiety. These are primal reactions that humans have. Humans can't take that kind of sensory overload. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Not in this world.
Not in this world. Not in this world.
With this type of
our
body.
Species, our kind.
No, you can't.
No, and just loud sounds freak us out. Gunshot goes off. You just you bright flashes. You wake up, look at your phone, you're blinded. You can't see these things. You can't even think about seeing them.
Let's finish it off with this. This is a test. You know, we're only here for one reason, to worship our Creator,
That's
to
true.
pass that test. That does not mean that nobody's perfect, neither me or this brother
Not
or
at all.
anybody else for that matter.
Yeah.
All we can do is try to make a better person out of ourselves. And that's all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, because He told us that, if we would have been perfect, He would have got rid of all of us and brought people
We
that
would have
would have
been there.
sinned. You know what I'm saying? So as a whole, we are a sinner. There's no question about it. But what are we gonna do about that to correct ourselves? And that's what the Creator wants. Is the brother keeps saying, the Creator wants our heart. He doesn't want us to make these prayers to show off, or He doesn't need our prayer. He wants our sincerity, and He wants truly our heart. One good prayer with sincerity and with cry, with everything, is worth way more than you come down here and do 100 prayer, and that's the fact of it. So may Allah's peace and blessing be upon all of you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, brother Gerardo.
No problem.
That was an incredible
Thank you,
interview.
brother. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much, and especially in this young age, I'm sure you're going to be inspiring a lot of people, people like
inshallah.
yourself, people like brother Phillips, Max, and all the rest of them that I talk to are try to get these great interviews. Is to me, I can't even describe how happy it makes me, because every time when I see a brother convert, I just see him coming home, and we're just as happy as that individual.
That's true.
So thank you so much. I
No
appreciate it,
problem.
brother. Thank
No
you so
problem.
much.
Thank
That
you
was
so
awesome.
much. Thank you.